So today I'm super excited to talk to you about high mountain oolong tea. Now, what is high mountain oolong tea and how do you prepare it? What's so special about it? Well, all of these questions we're going to answer today, and I look forward to discussing one of my favorite categories of tea, high mountain oolong tea from Taiwan. Well, high mountain oolong is a category of tea where the tea grows at 1,000 meters or higher. Now 1,000 meters translates into feet, 3,280 feet and 10 inches. We are even going to take you to that elevation in this video. Now granted, that will be in Oregon, so it's not going to be the same as Taiwan. I decided to take you guys on a journey up into the mountains to show you a little bit about how elevation might affect a plant such as tea. All right, here we are at 3,720 feet. Where is it up to? Here? All right, here we are at 3,700 feet, and this is the elevation that high mountain oolong is grown at in Taiwan. Now, as you can see, the terrain is very different here than it is in Taiwan. Now let's look at some of these trees here, and I'll show you what some of the difference in the elevation is. All right, so here we have a rhododendron and a Doug fir, or some sort of pine tree. And I believe this is salal here. And this right here is the magnificent ponderosa pine. So yeah, as you can see, the terrain is much different here, and the trees really have to struggle a bit more to grow. Looks like some nice Doug firs growing there. One of the things that I found really interesting about high mountain tea as a category of tea, Taiwan will talk about its 5 famous tea types. And these generally include Eastern Beauty, Iron Goddess of Mercy, Wenshan Baozhong, Dongding Oolong, and High Mountain Oolong. So High Mountain Oolong is just designated as its own category of oolong tea in Taiwan. But High Mountain Oolong can grow in several areas, and you can use High Mountain Oolong to process different styles of tea. You could do a roasted, you could do a High Mountain Iron Goddess of Mercy, you can do a High Mountain Black Tea. It's versatile, but High Mountain Tea as a designation, Gaoshan Cha, High Mountain Tea, that's its own classification. So yeah, it's just one of those things where it's defined by elevation. There's several regions of Taiwan that grow High Mountain Oolong Tea. Lishan, Pear Mountain, Alishan, Hehuanshan, Shanlinshi, Yushan, Jade Mountain. Now each one of these high mountain tea growing regions has its own terroir, high quality tea. It's so wonderful, and it's available in all of these different areas. They are slightly different though. At the very high elevations, the temperature is much cooler, and therefore the tea leaf is stressed by that cold weather, and it has to grow much slower. Basically, pull from its inner resources deep down inside and use all of that energy to bring forth the new leaf that grows. Therefore, the tea grows slower, and that new leaf is thicker than a lower elevation tea plant. That thick leaf, it has more aroma, more flavor, more mouthfeel. It also makes it so the tea leaf has more endurance. And when we say a tea leaf has endurance, it means that we can steep it more times. So the cold is one of the big influencers in a high mountain tea. The next factor of high mountain tea is at those high elevations, there's more mist, there's more fog in the hills, in the mountains, and that blocks the sunlight, again, resulting in a slower growing tea plant. And lastly, at those high mountain elevations, a different soil content. This soil that the tea is growing in is the oceanic crust that was pressed up so high into the sky due to major tectonic plate shifts. And as those oceanic plates got pressed up to form the mountains of Taiwan, what you have then is a rich layer of soil that is now very high in the mountains. But that soil has Na in it, which is a sodium element. Taiwan is the only place in the world that has Na in the tea. Now, this isn't the type of salt sodium that's bad for you. This is pure sodium delivered via a plant. When the sodium from the seawater is absorbed by the tea plant. And this is known to be very healthy for people. It's a very unique characteristic of Taiwan tea. It doesn't taste salty, but there is a kind of a savory component to a lot of Taiwanese teas. So from 1895 to 1945, and this is when Japan occupied Taiwan. And it's during this period that under the Japanese influence, people started experimenting with high mountain tea. So tea was grown in Taiwan prior to that in the Qing dynasty. It was during the Japanese colonial period that people started experimenting with high mountain tea, growing high mountain tea. Ali Shan, original high mountain tea. But it wasn't until the 1970s and 1980s that this high mountain oolong started to really take off in Taiwan. And why did this tea become one of the most favorite teas from Taiwan? Farmers started focusing more on tea quality versus tea quantity. And that had a big impact because this high quality tea coming out was compelling to consumers. They couldn't help but love it. There's that enhanced flavor and aroma, so it's just basically more fragrant, more flavorful. Keep in mind that tea has to struggle so much to produce the new leaf that it's got a more nutrient dense leaf. It's very floral, very buttery, it's very clean, it's very smooth. It has some of the characteristics of a green tea without being grassy or bitter. And that's one of the things that I love about the category of oolong tea. There's something very exciting, intoxicating about that flavor. Today I'm going to crack open a bag of this Li Shan Winter Glow, and we're going to get into what makes this tea so special. There you go. Now, brewing high mountain oolong is really pretty simple. You can brew it. These kernels of tea, you can just do something so simple as just throw a few of them into the bottom of your mug, like about that much, and just pour the hot water over it, and then those kernels will, as they unfurl, you can just sip the tea. That way you can just keep doing that, brew it over and over again, and that is delightful, a really nice way to brew the tea. Very simple. Now the best way to brew high mountain oolong tea is the Gong Fu brew style, or what they call Gong Fu cha. Now we have other videos devoted specifically to the topic of Gong Fu cha. So this clay is porous and it has a high iron content. And it also is a very high fired clay. So it's got a nice high sounding ping to it when the clay hits it. That means it was fired at a very high temperature and it's more suitable it will bring out some of the characteristics. This is one of my favorite high mountain oolong teapots here. We can go ahead and rinse the pot, and this acts as a method of a way to time tea, but also, even though we're pouring hot water over the teapot there, it evaporates and it sort of acts as a way to cool the pot. Now, one of the reasons why these pots are really fun is because they develop a patina over time and they get stained by the tea. And that's one of the reasons we pour water or tea over the pot, is to let that stain even out as well as accentuate that stain. So the more you use these pots over time, the more beautiful they become. And that's just such a fun thing about using these clay teapots. Now the tea leaf is expanded. Now we use a little bit more tea leaf than generally you're going to use when you brew an individual cup of tea, because what we're doing here is we're doing several infusions. We're going to steep the tea 6 times or 8 times or 10 times, or as many times actually as you want, to get the most out of the tea and to have the flavor you like. It's really important to use really hot water and to keep the brew times relatively short. So with this tea to water ratio, like how much tea leaf I'm using versus how much water, and with this really high temperature brew style, I typically I let the tea infuse anywhere from 20 seconds to a minute. and I'll just go through several infusions like that and basically create this infusion, this elixir of tea, this golden color, this green gold color. Got the water really hot. I can pour it towards the side there. People talk about that you want to pour it on the side so as not to burn the leaf, and we'll let that steep for a few seconds. The thing to keep in mind too is in between infusions, remove the lid as you saw me do, because that way the tea won't continue to cook in there. Now let's take a look at these tea leaves. Look at this whole leaf tea. It's just beautiful. And this is the standard, this is what they're going for here. This is a really thick whole tea leaf. When you're done brewing your tea, this just makes the most amazing compost. So this is such a thick leaf here. And then you can see these little ridges here on the edge. The bigger those ridges, that is an indicator of how slow the tea plant grew, how slow the leaf grew. Really fun to explore this category. And thank you for watching, and I really hope you took something away and enjoyed this video. We're gonna be shooting more videos, of course, and I love your guys' comments, so keep watching. All the oolong, all the time. Oolong time.